The Astro-Chads are back at it again with episode 2, Taurus. Dr. Narco Longo, are you ready to rock?
Shelly, I am.
You got all the knowledge? I want to hear it. I want to learn about Taurus. Let's do it.
Right, so Taurus. Taurus is the bull. Taurus is essentially from April 20th to May 20th.
Hold on, real quick. So when you said bull, I immediately thought of that ritual thing they do in Spain. Do they do that in correlation with Taurus? You know, with the bulls, the running of the bulls or whatever? They have to do that in Taurus.
They do it in Cancer.
Oh, okay.
July 7th.
So we'll cut
it's right
that part
now.
out.
Bro. Well, hang on, bro. It's
Okay.
literally right now.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
July 7th to July 14th.
Okay.
So that is, there's your connection right there.
Okay.
But we recorded this during the running of the bulls.
Okay.
Pretty badass. But April 20th to May 20th. Okay, so that's 4/20 to 5/20. And we find in Taurus the earthiest sign. Okay, perhaps the most dense. And you'll find this is when we kick off Earth Day, 4/22. 4/20 is known as a popular leaf herb partaking day.
Yep.
And Taurus, you also get, if I'm not mistaken, Mother's Day in Taurus. Yeah, so Mother's Day is in Taurus. And this is what we'd expect from a sign ruled by Venus. So Venus is the ruling planet of Taurus. Venus goes by the name Freya, Aphrodite, Isis. These are all Venusian words, equivalences to Venus. And May, also across the planet, you find May, Maya, Maria, right? Mary. These are all the same archetype. This supreme feminine goddess, often a virgin archetype. So in many cases, the mother of the world or the goddess of the earth herself. Maya being in Hindu culture, you have Maya, the mother of Buddha. Yeah, Maya, the mother of Buddha. So I guess it's Buddhist as well. But Maya means illusion. Sorry, so in Buddhism, Maya is the mother of Buddha. In Hindu culture, Maya means illusion, or, many different English definitions, that which is not real. So you could interpret that as the material realm. Because they'll say Maya. And many people, Haladara, who I made that video in the baobab tree, about the baobab tree in Miami, he remarked on this that Maya is Miami. They call it
Miami, right, is a notoriously materialistic city.
Yes, and they call
so it all ties in.
They call it exactly. It's very materialistic, but they call it Magic City and Earth City. They call Miami, and yeah. So Maya, Maria, those connections right there. This is your feminine goddess archetype. Now I'll say, so sorry, we're gonna.
It's like a very feminine sign, and honestly, what I was thinking about today, Taurus, like Tahor, like as in horse, kind of in the name Taurus. You know what I mean? So there's sort of this. There's a dialectic where the bull is very masculine. It's coming at you. When it sees red, it's going to attack. But it's ruled by Venus, right? I'm wearing pink in sort of in the same theme of this sign and the planet that rules this. But to me, it's very feminine, but at the same time can be very masculine.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point. Taurus is the most feminine sign of the zodiac by far. Now, Cancer is the most womanly sign of the zodiac. Taurus is the most feminine, right? Not every woman is feminine, correct? So Taurus inherently rules the ovarian tubes, the uterus, the ovarian tubes, and these are in the shape of the bulls and horns. This is the female reproductive system within Taurus. This is why you have Mother's Day in Taurus. It rules feminine fertility. Now, Cancer, once you have conception, then that role switches to Cancer. You are now formally a mother. So in Taurus, we find a special reverence for the young, feminine, virgin, okay, the young maiden, maiden. This is the origin of that word.
So I got pulled up over here, sort of the notes we have. What does the sign mean? Introduce the sign, etymology, name, symbol. Which one do you want me to ask about? The animal, which we kind of went over the bull.
Let me get just a little words in front of me.
So the animal of Taurus is the bull, right? So
Yep.
are there any words correlated to this bull?
Right. So as I said, you have the reason you brought up a good point. Why is Taurus the most feminine sign if it's represented by the bull with the horns? Now I explained that it's the tubes and the feminine reproductive system that is shaped like the bull horns, from what we get that association with the male horns. And remember, not to be lewd, but if you're horny, you're ready to use those areas, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that.
Well, the bull is always horny, so that's sort of a very good symbol for horniness. Also, another. Go ahead. Another word that came to my mind real quick was toroidal field. For some reason, you know what I mean? Sort of like a electromagnetic toroidal field. I'm wondering if Taurus is any corollary to that.
Yes. So Taurus, like we said, Mother's Day is Taurus, so there's a connection to the mother. Now, as I said, Cancer rules motherhood, but Taurus with the mother, who is the person who is going head to head with the bull, the matador, the mater, the madre, okay, the mater, the matador. And this is the dance between the bull and the guy with the sword. Well, you have the toroidal field, where this is the creation of matter. All matter is pretty much expresses itself through the toroidal field. So that's your connection with Taurus, the mother, and then Earth. Taurus is the sign of Mother Earth. That's why we put Earth Day inside of Taurus. So these people have this earthy quality, very earthy quality to them. They can be the most materialistic, but they can also be the most down to earth, if that makes sense. Now back to the bull. The bull, Taurus also rules eating. Okay. Now you eat out of a bowl, okay? Especially animals, correct? So the bowl, what we eat out of, is half of that toroidal field as well. And you also have the ape bowl, right? This could even be ape roll, where Taurus begins, right? Making sense. And this is still a red sign or pink. So we're going from red either to a deeper red, like ox blood, or we're going to a lighter pink, depending on what spectrum you're kind of using. But with Taurus, I attribute earth tones, pink, green. So anything with the ground, foliage, flowers is safe for Taurus. That's a healthy color for them, emblematic. And so back to the bull. What else can we say about the bull? And
I got something
this
though.
Emblem. You have the
bull.
Real
quick about the bull.
Okay.
The first thing that came to my mind, being in the month of May, is when the NBA playoffs occur. You know, the Chicago Bulls, for a long time period, were the dominant team in the NBA. Just so happens to be in Taurus when the playoffs are, which is sort of an interesting corollary. You know.
Now, I was going to say, in finance, we have our bull market, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that tends to be a money-making period, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Taurus rules money-making. It rules earned income. So anyone who's gone and got a chart reading, they'll tell you second house rules your earned income. Or some people will just say wealth in general, because it's kind of the material that you cling on to. There's another connection there with the fourth house, the other motherly sign being the home. So that's motherhood and the home. Taurus is more the income, the wealth, and young femininity. Now, to the bull market, we have to remember we get all money imagery. A lot of people will say, oh, all money's water. And there's a lot of truth to that. The currency, liquidity, the banks of a river, and things like that. The list goes on and on. But it actually all goes back to the moon, because the moon rules water. The moon exalts in Taurus. So remember, we were saying that Aries is ruled by Mars, but the sun exalts in Aries. Taurus is ruled by Venus, but the moon exalts in Venus. So in Taurus, the moon exalts, meaning it's at its best. She is at her best, our mother, the moon. And the moon wants to be in Taurus. It wants to be in Cancer, but it wants to be in Taurus the most. Now, from the moon is where we get all money, Monday, mono, okay? All mono words, moon, hormones. Remember, going back to that reproductive system, feminine reproductive system, hormones. Well, you also have, if we go to the moon, the name Selena for the moon, Selene, Luna, Selena. Well, that's where you get all selling, a lien, lending, loan. Okay, right?
Well, it's interesting because I automatically think of Celine Dion, who sang that famous song in regards to the Titanic, right? The Titanic is sinking in water, as Celine Dion is singing it the goodbye. You know what I mean? That's interesting corollary there.
Now, like I said, Taurus rules eating. So the last thing to be said about the name itself would be anyone who's ever gone and eaten at a restaurant, you are partaking in the most quintessential Tauresian act. So you are resting and you are eating. Rest, tar, rant. So that's how you can never misspell restaurant again. If you know the Zodiac, you're resting, eating, meaning Taurus. Taurus means to eat. Not actually, but it represents eating. So Taurus, the sign of eating, rest, tar, runt. That's where that word comes from. Like I said, all words are astro-theologically derived. And so that's enough about the name. And I think that's enough about the animal symbolism.
I got one more for the animal.
Sure.
So, there's a definite corollary here between Taurus and flowers, and also the color red, pink, right? So the most famous Chicago bull of the last 2 decades would probably be Derrick Rose, right? And I just think that's a funny corollary here because he played for the Bulls. His last name is Rose. And would you agree that's sort of Taurian in a sense?
It is. Now, who comes to my mind is Dennis Rodman.
Okay.
Who I believe is himself a Taurus and is famous for having a bull ring. Dennis Rodman is the bull of the bulls. He knows it. He wears it. He's got the big old nose ring like the Taurus.
And he was known for rebounding. That was his big thing. Very, very interesting.
Well, Tauruses are solid. Tauruses, they have thick bones. Is Khloe Kardashian? Let me see.
She's a thick old K. But she doesn't even look recognizable anymore because she's had so much elective surgery. That's like...
She's a Cancer, which is another thick sign. Cancer puts on weight the easiest. But Taurus also. So Taurus and Cancer are the 2 signs that deal with putting on weight. Or have to deal with putting on weight easiest. So because Taurus rules eating, Cancer kind of rules cooking and the preparing of food. So Taurus is very sturdy people. They're like earth, they're like rock, they're solid. And even the thin ones have a sturdiness, a density to them. You'll find that with Tauruses. And Tauruses have a reputation because of this for being a little bit thick, dense, dull, things like this. And it's not that they're stupid. Okay, no one sign of the zodiac is stupid, but Taurus does have this. Remember, we were talking about Aries being foolish and
Hmm.
used simpleton. Taurus can have somewhat of a simpleton reputation because I'll explain it. Like I said, it's not a lack of intelligence, but Taurus's mind moves the slowest, meaning a thought comes into the mind, and then in order to articulate that, you have the longest amount of time of any sign of the zodiac. Whereas Gemini, Aries is on the spot fast, but there's not much thought to what they're going to be saying. Not all the time. Gemini is where you start getting this quick fire intellect that's actually faster than the movement of the body. Aries is more having to do with the movement of the body, fast twitch response. Taurus, being the first fixed sign of the zodiac, is the most stable, secure, stationary. And that comes through in their stability. And Dwayne the Rock Johnson
Oh, wow.
is a textbook Taurus.
Not
And
only
then
that, he chose the Brahma Bull as his sort of nickname when he was a wrestler.
mhm.
Dude, my screen name, my AOL Instant Messenger screen name was Brahma Bull 007 because I was a huge fan of The Rock. So that's funny that he called himself a literal bull.
Yeah. Yeah, Tauruses will often have cow or bull imagery around the house or tattooed on them, not even put two and two together. A lot of times you'll see that. And they're sturdy, they're dense, and like I said, the thought process is perhaps the slowest in the zodiac. That's a generalization. Many smart Tauruses, many genius Tauruses. Do not get me wrong, but that needs to be said because Taurus, you'll find very slow moving people often. So
A Taurian woman has got to be kind of hot. Like she's
yeah,
got to lean towards the hot side, it seems.
I've always said that Tauruses make the best girlfriends. And they have a reputation for being a bit clingy because they're materialistic. They want to hold on to what they have. They're very they're concerned with the physical, and they'll want to latch on to who they're with. And having that density, they can sometimes feel like a lead weight or a burden or what you'd expect. So, or it might be just, hey, you're too clingy. But then you also have that's one of the Taurus kind of ways they express themselves. Another would be that they're the most feminine and lipstick and nice and beautiful and itsy bitsy sweet little tiny little voice, and they're not gonna express any manliness or ruggedness or very much feminine in the truest sense. So you'll find that wearing pink, things like that. And then I'll also say there's just the lovers of nature, and a way that I've seen kind of one of my mentors be able to guess a Taurus on the spot is how much they're into gardening and earth in either soil, herbs, one of these things, one of the agriculture, wildlife, you name it. Taurus is all about nature because nature is mature, mater, the N, the M, very close. Mother Nature, need I say more? And that is Taurus to a T. They are all about going wildlife, plant life. They love it. And they'll go into stores. You'll see memes walking into a Taurus's house, and it'll just be like plants all over the place. And that's very,
Wow.
very true.
So
So
I have two questions about Taurian men. Do
mhm.
Taurus men tend to have tempers? Because I just
can
think of the
I?
bull.
Sorry, can I
Yeah,
say more about Taurus women?
go ahead.
So Taurus women are the sweetest. They're the sweetest women by far. They have a girl-like attitude. They have a girl-like disposition, just like Aries has the little boy attitude. Taurus is very much a young, sweet girl, and some say that the word toddler has a connection to Taurus, because Taurus rules over this period of life where you're learning to grab onto things and possess things and say, I have this, I have that. And you need to be taught sharing, right? Taurus are, like I said, sweet girls. Tauruses can be very blunt, very blunt. And if you, not, forgive me for the cringe cliche, but if you mess with the bull, you get the horns. So these people are very sweet, but if you get them angry, they're very much blinded in rage and will rush and have little regard. Whereas Aries can kind of be like that all the time, right? Taurus is very much a reactive. If Aries is an active anger or an active, conflict, then Taurus would be passive, is a more reactive, but very much capable of immense anger. Both sexes,
Mm-hmm.
and they have just brute strength. Tauruses do. You'll find this. They're very strong. These are the moms that are lifting, lifting cars off their kids.
So, with all these feminine qualities, is it safe to say that Tauruses are talkative?
I'm not sure if they're talkative because we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna get in the next episode to Gemini. Gemini is certainly the chattiest females. Um, Taurus can have kind of we used the word simpleton before. That's a little harsh, but they kind of will have just this menial, that they're very topical in their speech and in their choice of topics. They don't like to go deep, into these arcane or occult subjects in public, things like that. And Taurus, you'll find, is often, not to be harsh, but they don't seem to go both feet in the water in terms of like deep, dark, alternative lifestyles. They kind of tend to walk straight and narrow, or at least go with the flow most of the time. Because, like I said, a very passive, receptive sign.
So, I have some questions about Taurus guys. So,
Right.
one thing everybody hates is bullshit, right? So, do Taurus guys have like a sense of honor or a pursuit of truth in any sense?
Well, like I said, with the women, the men can be blunt. Taurus has a gift for not overcomplicating things. Like I said, now I'm not sure if that's just a thing for the Taurus men, but I'll say Taurus men have a very leisurely attitude towards life and tend to have a more, not upbeat because they're not hyper, they're not on the go like Aries or Leo or something, but they are very positive in their disposition. Taurus, both sexes, but the men especially. And there's just they don't need much from life. That's another thing. The materialism might contradict that, what I just said, but in terms of, they tend to be very satisfied. Yeah, Venus rules pleasure, and they don't. Whatever. I think I said enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got some really good topics coming up. We got body part. I don't think we've talked about that. That's always a good one. I always love the body part. So I'll ask about that next. And just to give you a preview, at some point we probably want to pull up 4 men celebrities, 2 women, perhaps talk about compatibility and dating. You talked about that a little bit. Clothing style. What does it rule? That's one of my favorites. Physique, athleticism, career, other potential topics for sign, physiognomy, facial features of the sign. So I'll start with body part because that's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So what body part does Taurus rule?
Taurus rules the neck, throat, shoulders. Okay. Now that's more so the traps, not the shoulder, not the deltoids or outer side. That's Gemini when you get to the twins, the 2 arms. So this is very much similar to how the ram with Aries, we saw how the forehead kind of represents the most prominent part of the ram, being the horns at the front of the head that they're always ramming into each other with. with the bull, Taurus, we also find it's the most prominent part of the body on the bull. And that would be this massive neck and throat and shoulders, this huge mass between the shoulders and the head that's unique to cows and bulls, bovine creatures. Now, there's another one. The word bovine, okay? Bovine. Vine goes back to Venus. So bovine means Venusian creatures. So
Taurus ruling the neck rules the throat. You want to tell the truth, right? To have your throat chakra in alignment, right?
Yes. Now,
So
in the chakra system, that's
yeah.
going to be a little bit, that's a different spectrum. That's a 7-pronged spectrum. That's the 7 planets. Now, in that scenario, that's Mars. Mars lives in the throat chakra. But the connection between telling the truth goes from Mars to Jupiter, which is the truth right here. You have to see the truth before you can tell the truth, right? But the throat it's more so the connection to eating and swallowing here, because the connection between Taurus and Cancer can also be expressed through the connection between the mouth and the stomach, right? You eat here, swallow there, or digest down there. That's Taurus to Cancer. So Taurus rules the mouth in the sense that it's where you eat. Taurus rules the neck, and ruling the neck, it's the most sensitive part of the body for many. Now, what's the other most sensitive part of the body? There's the genitals and there's the feet, right? Now, sensual, most women will tell you it's either the feet or the neck, right? The neck or the feet. Almost every girl will say, if you ever read like online reports, like what do girls like, in the bedroom? Almost all of them say, my neck kissed. So that's the most Taurus thing ever, which you'd expect from a young woman. And that it shows this connection. And where do women put their perfume? Often on their neck. And if you've ever lived with a woman for a long time and gotten to know her pheromone, or kind of her natural scent, you'll smell it strongest around the neck, the throat. And this is a Tauresian thing as well. The hormones, the pheromones, feminine scent, Taurus ruling, and Venus ruling that which is pleasing. You have a connection there with sensuality and the throat. But yeah, that's it.
Very cool. Do you have any celebrities in mind, that are just prototypical examples of what a Taurus is?
Yeah, I guess I could have touched on the appearances a little more, but this is a good chance to do so. Uma Thurman, I'll say. Uma Thurman is a textbook Taurus. Now, Taurus is known, I can identify Tauruses by the amount of space between their brows or their eyes. So a couple different signs have eyes far apart, but with Taurus, it's the brow. The brow is very far apart, almost like a cow's head. And now some people might think, oh, does that mean I'm not attractive? No. Many people are attracted to this. And example A would be Uma Thurman, who I think was smoking, in her prime, dare I say. You get canceled for saying that now. Isn't that funny? In her prime. But Uma Thurman had this eye far apart thing, where Tauruses have all this space between the eyes, like I said. So much so that Family Guy actually did a gag on her eyes drifting apart in the middle of a dinner.
Yeah, I remember that.
Peter's like on a date with Uma Thurman, and her eyes keep drifting apart, like during the scene from Pulp Fiction. And I mean, that's as Taurus as it gets. Tauruses will have that gap between the eyes, they might have a very earthy, complexion to them. They might be very dense, big boned, thick boned. I would say for me, it's usually the eyes. They can have sometimes those flared nostrils, like a bull, like Dennis Rodman, like The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And Uma Thurman does that too. You'll see her nostrils flare up very wide. And it's this bull archetype showing through them. Yeah. The word bold comes from this too, to be bold.
Very cool.
So other
Awesome.
celebrities, let me think of some.
But Dennis Rodman and freaking Dwayne The Rock and Uma, those are great examples.
Tauruses who have this distinct Taurus look. Okay. Adele, big boned woman, right? You have Sam Smith, Renee Zellweger, Lizzo. Hello,
Lizzo. Let's
Megan,
go.
and Sam Smith. He's swelled up like like who knows?
Yeah, I honestly don't know what that guy looks like. I only know like 1 or 2 songs, but I know what Lizzo looks like. She's dense.
Yeah,
She's
and then
pretty dense.
Now you'll also find these feminine features in Penelope Cruz, Uma Thurman, like I said, Gal Gadot, Gigi Hadid. Now back to the eyes being spread apart. Janet Jackson, she's a big one with that.
Wow.
And Kelly Clarkson, another big girl.
She got big.
Not missing any meals.
Well, you know what's funny? Do you think that Tauruses like get big during a certain time period in their life? Like she wasn't always big, but she got big very efficiently. Lizzo's probably always been a big girl, but is it like, does it have to be their whole lives, or does it have to be like could it be a time period?
Like I said, they have the ability to gain weight very easily.
Okay.
So they're not stuck fat, but they can gain it very easy.
Sort of like The Rock, like he can get huge basically when he wants to, it seems.
Now, football, who's Cam Newton? He's one of the kind of big, densest quarterbacks in the last, latest memory. He's just a solid guy. Chris Brown, Taurus rules Brown, right?
Oh, and he's got the nose ring all the time too.
Queen Elizabeth, okay, Taurus. You've also got Channing Tatum. So they have a reputation for being very charming, and we find that in George Clooney, who's probably the most emblematic Taurus man. He's the smooth talker, ladies' man, not like, remember we were talking about Aries with these fire features, with this angular face and the pronounced jagged features. Taurus, you kind of move away from that. Now they might have a sturdiness to their face, like Robert Pattinson, I forget, Pattinson, I don't remember. Robert Pattinson, but he has a very feminine, thing to his face too, despite his strong features. But he has these earthy, almost like blockwork features, right? Robert Pattinson. So you'll find that with Taurus men, if they have like this model look to them, this feminine look. And then, like I said, George Clooney, he's very, very Taurasian. He's smooth, he's earthy, he's like just like a whatever. That, all QAnon stuff aside, just he's like a smooth ladies man. He's been voted like the world's sexiest man, and he's not the dude who's jacked with, he's not the macho bro, right, is what I'm trying to express here. He's very much like a ladies man. And that's what you find with Taurus men. You can find them being smooth, comfortable with femininity, stuff like that. So women
Chris Brown too. Like he's kind of prototypical in the sense that like he's known to attack. If he gets provoked, he's known for that.
I was just about to say women feel safe with Taurus men. Yeah, not him.
Well, here's the thing. He can be sort of he can see red, essentially. We've seen it before. But he's had other altercations. He's kind of like a tough guy. Is it being sort of a tough guy also sort of a Taurus thing as well?
Yeah, like I said, it's not so much a macho thing, but they can be big, they can be they like to be the biggest bull in the pasture a lot of the time, but they're not really this aggressor type like you find with Aries or maybe Sagittarius or the fire signs. But I'll say this, that Taurus and Sagittarius share the same rune. They're ruled by the same rune, being Jupiter, which is like size, strength, expansion, largeness. And Taurus gets some of its properties from a part Jupiter influence. It's not a planetary influence. It's a runic rulership.
What does that mean exactly, runic?
There's runes, and 24 of them correlate 2 for each of the 12 signs of the zodiac.
Okay.
And Taurus, being the tar, gets its name from the T rune, which is, the Thor rune. It gets its name from the T rune, Thor, when Sagittarius gets its rune from the Tyr rune, but both the T runes. And this is where you get this there's like a strength, a thunder aspect. It's a thunder connection to Taurus. But yeah, tornado, right? Something's a tor, generator, all these tor words, motor. So there's a connection there. There's a connection there to energy.
Okay.
Energy.
Wow. Torture, though, that's like very,
Yeah.
Yikes. All right. So, celebrities, compatibility dating. We kind of touched on that. When you talk about the masculine and feminine, it's kind of like, unless you want to talk about.
I'll say this. Tauruses like to eat. So if Taurus is the sign that you want to bring to a restaurant. You want to bring them sweets. They love sensual enjoyment, like pleasing the senses, touch, taste, smell. Like I said, this is a very makeup wearing, not all the time, but they're known to be very makeup. They like the pretty colors. They like the strong smells. Tauruses can be wearing a lot of perfume, strong perfumes, and exaggerating their femininity, which is a good thing. That's their superpower. They're the most feminine. They're the maidens,
It's interesting how Taurus is the most feminine sign, because you'd think it would be Virgo. You know what I mean? Because the logo for Virgo is a woman, right?
Now, I'll say this. The reason Virgo corresponds to the Virgin is the lack of, it's sterile. It's a sign of sterility. Now, a lot of people might say, I thought it has to do with the harvest and things like this. Well, it actually has to do more with the alchemical components, the chemical wedding behind what we would consider sex or sex symbolism. Virgo has more to do with the alchemy behind that. And the hermetics, right? Remember, Virgo is the hermit, ruled by Hermes, Mercury. So there is a connection there, and it does rule maidens as well, especially midwives. Virgo is the midway sign. It's the medical, medium, like I said, medium, midwives. So all these medi words go back to Virgo, the Virgin. And I'd say that the Virgin in Virgo has more to do with it being between, this hermetic principle of being between sexes and not engaging in, whatever. I said enough on that.
Yeah.
But if anything,
we'll save it for Virgo.
The only other most feminine sign would be Cancer. Cancer's, like I said, the most womanly sign of the zodiac.
So I'll ask you this: what kind of clothing do Taurus women and Taurus men wear?
Now, they can be earthy types, dressed for nature, dressed for engaging in either. Tauruses like working with their hands. Like I said, the women will gravitate towards gardening and work with herbs, things like that. Men can very much be they're not the builder of the zodiac, because that's going to be Capricorn, who's the builder archetype, the construction worker. But they very much like to work with their hands, to build, to compile, to collect, amass things. And because of that, Taurus is kind of a down-to-earth dresser. The women can, as I said, be this exaggerating the feminine qualities with the lipstick and things like that. But Taurus men, I'd say there's not a completely defined aesthetic to them. I'll say you might find just laid back leisure wear, earth tones. They're not going to be the brightest, neither of them are going to try and be the brightest in the room. More in the background. Taurus likes to be in the background a lot, believe it or not.
Very cool. So one thing I love about astrology is the random things that the signs rule. So for Taurus, what does Taurus rule?
Right. So we kind of touched on the two most important ones, which is feminine reproductive system, not the act of reproduction, but leading up to it, and hormonal health, things like that. Taurus also rules sweets, okay? Things that are fried, because we get the word fry. This very indulgent food, the most indulgent forms of food, sweets, fried foods, things like that, go back to Taurus, and Venus, who is most expressed through Taurus. Fry comes from Freya, to fry something, right? Freya being the goddess of love, but also pleasure and what's indulgent. Fried food has this fatty but sweet. It can be salty, but it has this sweetness to it. It has this indulgent warmth, comfort. So you'll find fried food will be called comfort food. And remember, restaurant food differs from home cooking. How? That there's more leeway with the ingredients. You say, oh, fuck it, I'm paying for it. Just put whatever you want in there, as long as it tastes good.
And fried food can get you big quick.
Yeah.
Now,
wow. Fried food comes from Freya, or Fry, Frittag, Friday. That's Venus Day, for those that don't know. Viernes, Venus, Friday. So fried food, and, you take a girl out on a date, Friday. It's this Venusian connection, pleasure, that which is pleasant, agreeable, smells nice. Fried food smells nice. It'll get you, looking, where's that coming from? It's alluring. And Taurus can be like that. It's very sensual. Remember Juicy Couture?
A little bit. Oh, it's like those pants that girls would wear, and they would say "juicy" on the back.
To me, that's the most Taurasian brand there's ever been. Number one, it's juicy, like fresh fruit. Taurus rules fruit, sweet fruit. I should say that as well. It's not just the bad indulgent foods; it's the good ones too. But it's the deceptively good ones are ruled by Taurus too, like the sweets, fried foods.
The real sweets and the fake sweets, both ruled by Taurus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sugar. Taurus rules that which is sweet. And then also Juicy Couture, anything that makes your mouth water. This is a very Taurasian effect. But Juicy Couture, you have your Taurus Couture. And then Juicy Couture, they were known for having like fur. It was like this soft, like fur fabric, like sweatpants and hoodies and whatever.
Yeah, I remember
it was complete like white trash, terrible,
just hood rich type shit. You know what I mean? Just like doesn't get any more like ghetto than juicy on your ass. You wrote juicy on your ass. It's ludicrous. But you made me think of something. It seems like Taurus rules all desserts.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
In a sense, yeah.
Not all of them, but it kind of rules dessert in the sense that it rules all the sweet stuff, and it rules the fruits. So it's like, I think of like cheesecake, strawberry cheesecake, for example. That's very Taurasian. Would you agree? It seems.
Mm-hmm. It could be. Mm-hmm. It would be. Yeah.
Well, actually, doubly so, right? Because it comes from a cow, and it's also a fruit. So it's like that might be the most Taurasian dessert, right?
Yeah. Dairy. Taurus rules Cancer rules dairy more because it comes from the breasts, but in the sense that Taurus rules all comfort food. The word comfort, Taurus rules fur. Venus and Taurus rule fur, comfort, fertility. So that fur is the fra. This fra sound is also the fur. So Freya, Aphrodite is where you get this comfort, fertility, and what was the last one? Fur, comfort, fertility. Yeah, that's what Taurus rules. And also, what do they rule? Some will say banks and where money is stored and wealth is amassed. Some will say it rules income in general, like I said, wealth, material gain. Taurus rules.
Nice. Very cool. So if somebody is a Taurus, what type of career are they likely to enter?
Right. Now, we touched on gardening, working with the earth, nature work, things of that sort. But those can be hobbies. You'll find them working with assets. They like to have their hands on things. So if they're salesmen, it's going to be something that they can touch and sell. Leo is the sign that can sell anything. But Taurus very much, they can move product, if that makes sense. If they can see it, put their hands on it, they have this green thumb about them. They're very good with product. Now I know that sounds broad, but the closer to nature, the better they're going to be, the better they're going to do working with things derived from nature, herbs, spices, things like that. Make good chefs as well. Cancer makes the best chefs, but Tauruses are very good with sensual pursuits. They're very good with their hands, body work. Gemini is best with the hands and for fine-fingered endeavors. Taurus has a sensitivity about them through touch that they can, touch, touch, T-O-U, Taurus, touch. There's a connection there.
Is there a bull connection with the Torah?
I'll say this, that a menorah looks like kind of like horns going up, and that's Minos or the Minotaur menorah. Yep. Menorca is famous for black horses. I think they might have something to do with bulls too, if I'm not mistaken. But Torah, I don't have much to say there, other than they're the most materialistic doctrine.
Did we talk about physique or athleticism in regards to Tauruses?
Mm-hmm. They can be burly. They are typically, bull-shaped, cow-shaped. They might have thin legs, but are kind of bullish up top. Be careful, both sexes. They can put on weight very easily. They can put on fat and muscle very easily. So Tauruses are good eaters, but they have to be careful after a certain extent. And they're just dense. I've played lacrosse against a bunch of Tauruses. Even the skinny ones you run into them and it's like, wow, they hold their ground as if they're someone 20 or more pounds heavier than what they look like. So that's what you'll find with Tauruses. They're very sturdy. They're dense. They're very good at defense. Remember, being that receptive, they can take what's coming at them. So Aries are like your attackers in soccer, right? Your attackmen in lacrosse, your shooters, whereas they're right up there in the action, front lines. Like I said, Taurus is very much a receiving. And now we touched on warfare on the last one. Tauruses were said to be the best shield bearers. They could take whatever came at them, and they could actually, the force that they could receive was enough to
withstand the attack.
They could contribute just by their ability to withstand. They were not concerned with offense in many senses. Now that's not, this isn't every army, but there is much evidence that armies were arranged due to astrology, birthday. And Aries would be your front lines, Aries and Scorpios. Taurus would be your shield bearers.
So one thing
Anything
I want to
else?
ask about is there's you sort of touched on machines, but there's clearly a connection with torque.
So the energy, power, especially what would the word be?
What real quick, what metal does Venus control?
Venus rules copper. So
And is that correlated?
Taurus's metal is copper for
Mm-hmm.
sure. The copper is the three metals of Taurus. And when it's polished, it is pink. When it is being handled and just as is, it's brown. When it oxidizes, it is green, bright green, like leaf green. That's Taurus right there. That's Venus. Pink, brown, and green. Those are the Venus colors, Taurus colors.
Very cool. Anything else on your mind for Taurus? Natural disasters, tornadoes.
Here we go. A lot of times I'll go up to people and I'll say this: Taurus is the sign that I'm able to guess the easiest.
Wow.
So I've wowed Taurus is the most, being able to go up to them and say, "You're a Taurus," because
Wow.
Tauruses are very one-dimensional, and like I said, with other signs, you can be deceived by how much activity is going on in the face, the different faces they might be making. Lots of depth to the character. With Aries and Taurus at the beginning of the zodiac, the character types are very one-dimensional. That's not to take away from who they are as people, but what you see is what you get at the beginning of the zodiac. And I'll say this: when I go up to Tauruses a lot, I'll say, "Are you a Taurus?" And they'll say, "Oh no, I was born here. No, I'm from here. No, this is my husband. We're just looking around."
Yeah.
And I'll say, "No, Taurus."
Okay.
Okay, well, tourist. People will say, "Oh, well, doesn't Sagittarius rule touring or travel?" Well, you don't have to be long distance traveling to tour something. But what are you doing when you're a tourist? You're being led around like cattle.
Big time.
Your thought process is wiped clean. You're not engaged in any critical thought. You're being led around. He's the guy's telling you, "Look at that. Look at that." And you're just along for the ride. So this is very much a Tauresian disposition and a Tauresian attitude. And to be a Taurus, Tauruses are somewhat led around through life. And they're not always the leaders. Remember, like I said, they're not a service sign like Pisces or Virgo, but Taurus is very much, they like to kind of enjoy life and not stress and not burn themselves out. So Tauruses can very much have this tourist attitude about life.
So how do people react when you guess their sign correctly on the spot?
It's a great way to gain credibility right off the bat. People that I find I'm able to do that with are, pretty more trusting in what I have to say, because not to, jag myself off, but that's real life magic. That's a magic trick that you can't explain. There's no cards. There's no trick behind it. Someone you've never met before being able to guess 1 out of 12 when you were born. I'll say, how many times have I ever guessed Pisces correct? Less than 10. Less than 10.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have I guessed Taurus, in public? I'd say over 50. Well over 50. I've said, "You're a Taurus." Women, men, old, young. For me, it's very easy. Aries is also very easy. Some might even say easier. But for me, Taurus is the easiest to guess in person. So yeah. I also dated one for 7 years, so that might have to do with it. 6 or 7 years. But Taurus.
Was she hot?
She was very feminine. She was hot. Yeah, she looked like a mixed race Uma Thurman. We won't include that, but she had the eyes.
Dude, no way. Okay, I gotta tell you something. You know what? Here's something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
First girl I ever really fell in love with was half black, and guess what her name was?
What?
It was Raven.
Oh,
Raven,
wow.
yeah, Raven Grinstein. She was half black. she was adopted by this Jewish family. So like she had no clue who her real parents were, but she got adopted by these Jews. But she was dope. Super like the thing with the mulatto women, like, dude, when they get the curvaceous African features combined with European features, it can be out of control. So
yeah, bro, that's that Anunnaki feature, those Nephilim features.
Yeah, pretty gnarly. So in closing, I think we are at the beginning stages of creating the best intro to astrology, the best series on the internet. A basic synopsis of the archetypes of each sign and how they apply to everyday life. The Astro-CHADS, look it up on YouTube. Nice.